Alrighty, y'all. Hello and welcome back to a drag racing video. European versus American cars and maybe some others mixed in there as well. So it'll be pretty fun because I'm usually learning about other motorsport disciplines, and drag racing is something I'm very used to. I've been drag racing, you know, it's really big here in the US, kind of always has been. But from what I understand, it, you know, has a presence pretty much everywhere else in the world as well. But seeing European cars and American cars go at it might be pretty interesting, and I'm surprised we haven't really looked at that much. So that's what we're going to do. All right, so starting out with some random matchups. Looks like a McLaren. Now, I'm not a McLaren expert. I haven't kept up with those recently. It looks like a, I don't know if that's like a 570S or something like that. I'm not exactly sure. And a Jeep Grand Cherokee, but it is a Hellcat version. So pretty rare and pretty odd matchup. Holy crap. This one's way out there. Yeah, as I would imagine, the McLaren is faster. Although, 12:22 from the McLaren, quarter mile. That's pretty fast. And actually, so the McLaren won, you know, the race side by side, but the Jeep started slightly late. And he actually ran an 11.96, so he actually ran a faster time. So that's pretty impressive considering it's a huge, you know, SUV and much heavier than the McLaren. Now, if you will look at the trap speed, McLaren's coming in a lot faster at 132 versus 115 miles per hour. All right, look at this. We got an Audi. Looks like maybe just looks like a smaller one. So an S4, RS4, maybe something like that. And then we have an SRT Challenger Hellcat. So again with the Hellcats, now one thing I'm probably going to notice here is, yes, the Hellcats are cool. I've always wanted to drive one. I bet they're a lot of fun. I've driven a regular SRT Challenger. They're super fast, so I imagine the Hellcat's just crazy. But the fact that this kind of become like the go-to for the US is just, it kind of gets exhausting. Like, damn, it's just Hellcats over and over again. Kind of makes us look a little one-trick pony-ish, you know? Now, I love Audi. I got an Audi flag back there. But that's going to be tough. I think the Hellcat might have this. All right, here we go. Holy smokes. Oh, my God. Look at that Audi go. What? Wow. Look at the time, 10:45 in a quarter mile for the Audi, 11 flat for the Challenger. So the Audi has literally won the race. It also won the times. The trap speed is nearly identical. Holy smokes. And the craziest part is you stick regular wheels back on there, the Audi is going to be probably easier to drive around town, and it's going to be a little more luxurious, well, probably a lot more luxurious, and it's going to handle better on the twists and turns. Like I said, I love Hellcats. I think they're cool. I think they became, you know, like an instant icon here. Lots of power, great sound, but again, they're a little more of a one-trick pony, and they've become so like the go-to here in these races, and the fact that it just lost to an Audi is pretty crazy. Now, I'm sure, you know, the Audi might be a little modified. It definitely was modified with the wheels and tires, but I know those Audis seem to be very fast, even stock, especially if you're talking about S-line cars or, you know, the RS trims. You know, they're serious business. All right, we got a, what do you know, a Hellcat again. This is a Charger Hellcat, so the longer four-door, but same drivetrain. Ooh, and we have a very menacing looking Mercedes. What is that? Is that an E-Class or is that a full-on S-Class? That's an E-Class, correct? Damn, that Mercedes looks magnificent. Charger looks pretty cool. I will say one advantage straight away. I don't know how much power the Mercedes is making, but that Hellcat is obviously around 700 plus horsepower stock. Maybe they have mods on there, I'm not sure, but it certainly has drag slicks in back, so that's a huge advantage, at least on this surface. German muscle versus American muscle, pretty cool. And it launched pretty hard. Wow, look at that Mercedes, though. Holy smokes. Is he going to track him down? Almost. 10.95 and 11.6. So only half a second difference. Remember, that's a huge advantage with the drag slicks on the Charger. If they were both running stock wheels and tires, I think this would have been neck and neck. I really do. We have a Charger Hellcat. Again, we have had nothing from America except Hellcats. That's what I mean. They're cool, but like we need some more players in the game, right? Versus a Jag. It looks like a Jaguar F-Type. I don't know much about those. I know they look pretty cool. And they sound good, from what I heard years ago when I saw it on some TV program. So we have some British muscle or British sports car. I don't know what you'd want to call it. Of course, American muscle. This one's on more stock tires. And as you see, not nearly the crazy launch you get with the drag tires. Wow, look at that Jag. Is that Jag winning? They were literally, for the actual race, it looked to be that they were side by side. Maybe the Charger had it by literally a nose. Literally a nose. Very close. Trap speeds are pretty close. And the times are only, let's see, what, about 0.4 of a second? So, very impressive from that Jaguar. Wow. I mean, that's a Hellcat. That's about the top of the food chain when it comes to American muscle. And it barely beat that Jaguar. All right, we have a first-gen Jeep SRT. So this is not a Hellcat because this is older. It's probably like a 2009 or 2010 Jeep Grand Cherokee SRT. So this would have had the 6.1-liter Hemi, naturally aspirated Hemi V8. And a BMW 3 Series. I don't know what type. Looks like a stock Beamer. Doesn't even look like an M3. Wow. I'm pretty sure it's not an M3. And we have a BMW 3 Series within, like, a nose of this Jeep. That's a fast Jeep. 12.7 for an SUV is fast, right? It's an SRT full on. But you have a regular Beamer running almost as fast. Holy smokes. Have I underestimated those? I think so. Interesting matchup. We have a old, looks to be like a Monte Carlo or something, some B-body GM. Now, clearly this thing looks like it's absolutely gutted inside. Fiberglass hood, you know, the whole works, right? Drag slicks, tons and tons of power. You know, nothing about this thing stock anymore. So we have a full-on drag car, right? Versus what looks to be, again, a bone stock Mercedes and an older one. Like, again, like 2004, 2005 maybe? I don't know. Wow. Well, definitely one off the launch. That actually launched a lot faster than I thought. That Mercedes is kind of quick off the line. And it's going to win. Obviously, the launch was kind of horrible by the American car there. Now, he did run pretty fast. It was a fast car, as I probably would have expected. But again, that Mercedes is going to be nice to drive on the daily, and it corners way better, right? Now, remember, I like American cars. I like American drag racing cars. Yeah, I'm not knocking on them, but I'm saying that sometimes some of these races, they barely beat daily driverable, like normal European cars, which is kind of alarming. It's like, whoa, right? Like that Mercedes, they could drive home, and they're probably going to drive home. And they could take it to the road course or a racetrack the next day, and they could drive it around corners. You're not going to be doing that in that Monte Carlo. All right, and then these drag races are actually in Europe, from what I understand. I'm not exactly sure where. But this changes the game, right? It's a different surface. It looks to be at like an airport of some sort. So you're on a more, let's say, just neutral surface, not a drag prepped, tons of rubber down type drag racing track. So this is totally different when it comes to launching and traction. A bit more fair game, I'd say. And we have a Corvette, a C7. Love those. I think they look awesome. And a newer Mercedes as well. God, I need to really up my Mercedes game. I don't know what this is called because it doesn't look like a regular C-Class. Kind of like that weird shaped one. What's it called? Wow. Wow. Those both sound really good. Well, it was a good race until about like 80% into it. The Mercedes like slowed down or hit the brakes. But I have to say, again, we're looking at a luxurious, kind of big, maybe slightly heavy Mercedes car that is bone stock, daily driver, like luxury, and it's keeping up with a mean-looking Corvette. And I love Corvettes. That's a purpose-built performance car. You're not going to be daily driving a Corvette and carrying people with you in the back because there is no back. It barely beats the Mercedes. That's crazy. Wow. I mean, it would beat it further on. Like, the Corvette's definitely faster. But again, and unlike other American cars, like, at least when it comes to muscle cars, I think Corvettes do handle well. I've driven Corvettes. They're awesome. Very sporty, the sports car DNA runs throughout it, right? They're low to the ground. They're fun to drive. They're very fast. They handle good. So they can handle just like European cars, in my opinion. But it's still a dedicated sports car. And you take your average, it looks to almost be like you take your average European sedan, and they're pretty athletic in the turns and stuff. And they can almost hang with like really fast American cars. It's kind of crazy how fast they are. Look at this. We have a Challenger SRT, not a Hellcat, just a regular SRT, and then an Audi. Look at the Audi, totally smacking it. Holy crap. Oh my God. Jesus, that wasn't even close. Ooh, awesome truck. One I would never buy because I just like regular pickup trucks. But it's one of those things I'm glad they made. It's a little weird, but yeah, this is a Ram SRT10, basically a Viper engine shoehorned into this Ram, and total sport truck. Weird thing, but one of those things you're glad they made, right? They're cool. Versus maybe the same Audi? Yeah, that Audi's with the all-wheel drive. Yeah, Ram does sound cool. Yeah, it's hard to beat those. They're light, pretty light, at least compared to a truck. And they launch so well. Here we go. Looks to be a Hellcat, of course. Hellcat Challenger. And then maybe a BMW M3 or something, M4. This one might be a good matchup. This is actual, performance Beamer here. They're both getting traction issues. The Hellcat took off. It finally hooked and it took off. The camera was zoomed in. It looks like the Beamer almost made up some ground. That was a pretty good race. That's one of those you might do 5 times. You might get a different result a couple times. This is cool. This is an American car most Americans don't even know about. These are kind of under the radar. These Cadillac, V cars, right? A lot of people don't know much about them. You don't see them a lot. I never see these on the road. I just see usually normal Cadillac. So this is cool. I actually don't know much about this myself. So this is cool. We have a Cadillac and a Mercedes. This is a good matchup because these both handle well. The Cadillacs do handle well, these newer sporty ones. Of course, they're, pretty luxurious. Same could be said about the Mercedes. This is a good matchup. I like this. Wow, look at that Cadillac go. Ooh, wow, look at that Mercedes catch up. Damn. Okay, that was great. Now, this is pretty interesting. We have looks to be an Aussie Ute. This might be in Australia. It is. Queensland Auto Spectacular. Shout out to Australia. They know a thing or two about muscle, big power, and drag racing as well. Don't ever forget that. They know some big power builds and burnouts too. We have an Aussie Ute and a Audi. Again, this is going to be pretty cool. This is a, RS3? Damn, look at that thing go. Now that Ute probably has a V8 in it. And it looks to be old and pretty stock, but still. Yeah, it's pretty, 15.4 and a quarter. It's old and stock, but hey, it's a cool Ute. I like it. But no, unfortunately, it didn't stand a chance. That Audi's running an 11.7. And this thing is a 4-cylinder? Holy crap. Hopefully some Aussies are watching this. You gotta chime in. This is pretty cool. It's grainy and it's far away. I can't, it looks like a Ford Falcon. I hope I'm right. So if I'm wrong, I know you guys are gonna roast me, and I apologize, okay? BMW is asleep. Wow. Again, not even close. Damn, 11.4. Holy smokes, man. It's pretty ironic. Like, drag racing is cool, but it's one of those things, like, even as an American, like, if I had a really cool performance car, I'd rather take it road racing. It's just more fun and it's more variable, right? Different road tracks across the world are all different, right? Drag racing is the same experience, kind of, you know, like, it's not as variable and it can get kind of repetitive. So I've never been like a super fan of it. But it's funny because, you know, a lot of the American muscle cars and stuff, from my perspective, is like, that's what they're good at. Like, oh, drag racing, and oh yeah, look at that Beamer or that Porsche or whatever. But like, man, they wouldn't stand a chance against my big V8. You know, like the old school Americana thing. It's funny because it's not even performance cars. You can get like basically a regular, as long as it's not like a fuel efficient hatchback or something, you can get like a regular kind of bigger European sedan, or, you know, a two-door kind of sporty car, but not like a super high-end one, just like a normal BMW 3 Series and stuff like this. And they're faster in drag racing than most American cars. Like, you have to get the top-tier, fastest muscle car they make to even stand a chance against like somewhat regular European cars. Is that kind of weird to think about? Maybe that's generalizing too much, and that's fine, but that is pretty crazy. I never thought about European cars and like the speed. Like, I've learned about rally and Formula One, and I know those are fast, right? But like, I always associate like European cars handle better. They're built, you know, different. Like, they're, you know, a lot more times, you know, higher quality when it comes to like engine performance for like the size of the engine and sophisticated suspension setups and tech, right? Like, I think we can all always agree on that. That's a pretty accurate stereotype. Like, they're actually fast, even in a straight line. They're not built to be fast in a straight line necessarily, like they would build a Dodge Demon or a Dodge Hellcat. They definitely only pretty much care about being fast in a straight line and getting that high power number to advertise. But like, the European cars aren't built that way, but they're still fast, even in drag racing. It's kind of crazy to watch. I hope you enjoyed it. This is just kind of a quick, fun one. You know, there's so many videos and so many drag races that aren't ever recorded that, you know, are probably interesting, and you could have different results. Yeah, that was interesting. I'd like to deep dive a little more into European drag racing and some different builds in the future too. So any ideas and suggestions you have, I would appreciate. I appreciate you watching. It's going to be it for this one. My name is Ian. You're watching IWrocker. Until next time, y'all. Catch you later.